They are making such good rotations. They're responding towards pressure, and we're into picks and bans.
There we are. Straight on into it. Just as a note for any of our tie fans, I know we're all Europeans, so we love ties. Can no longer have a three-way tie. So we're no longer going to have those extra games on Wednesday.
Not even if...
Not even because with that, the maximum amount of points that Wyndham Rain can get are 6. They cannot tie with Schalke 04 at 8 points, so we cannot have a three-way tie. We can still have a two-way tie, so we might still have one extra match.
Well, actually, if PSG...
If PSG win this game, we can't have well, we can still have a two-way tie for second place.
Yeah, we could, but that would be RB losing 0-2 to Origin, which...
No, RB would have to beat Origin.
Sorry, yeah, sorry.
Let's not get into that. We cannot have a three-way tie anymore. That's the
There we go. Well, let's have a look at the picks.
Oh, I know. Sorry, I was thinking about a two-way tie between... Yeah, there are two...
Can you remember that bit in Emperor's New Groove, where the guy shuts up? Paris Saint-Germain have banned out Twitch, Cockmore and Galio once again. Wyndham Rain have got rid of the Zach,
If you watch the film, they never
Can we please talk about picks and bans?
We're not watching the film.
PSG have first pick, and Thresh is still available for them if they want it.
Okay, there we go.
I got there just about in time.
Seriously, they don't shut up.
Talk about Wyndham Rain for me.
Yeah, okay, so what have they got available for them here? Again, Larsen has shown a bit of priority when he wants to get that Corky, but I imagine he might want to even pick up the Cassiopeia this game to take that away from Blanc. I don't expect PSG pick that up on next rotation unless they felt it was so integral to their composition that they needed to.
Okay.
So Larsen has got incredible prowess on Cassiopeia. If he wants it, he has to pick it up now, which would be a little bit out of the blue. I would feel that they might give, well, like Ash, for instance, which was what was the priority over for PSG. So I like this from Wyndham Rain. You are limiting one of the major factors that made PSG good last game, which was Nardius on this Ash.
I don't think you don't take the Ash. Like, now you force Nardius onto...
Double negative.
I mean, these two teams, it's kind of fitting.
Oh, good gee. All right. Well, Kaelin's been taken away, Cogmore and Twitch. Now Nardius is forced to play something not out of his wheelhouse by any means, because there's still something like a Kalista available, but taking the Ash away, which was such a pinnacle to PSG's composition, was very important. And just going back to the midpoint very quickly, let's say that's the last. Actually, counter-pick Blanc is going to be important for Larsen, just making sure you can get an even matchup in that mid lane.
Yeah, I wouldn't say you pick Cassiopeia early again anymore, because you saw that they picked the Corky, so it was a good matchup for the Cassiopeia.
Yeah, you could pick Syndra, there's so many things you can counter.
There are plenty of bad matchups.
Jhin is still available here for PSG if they want it. The Trist as well, something that we've seen a lot in NALCS and of course in EU from Reckless for a while.
Whoa. Oh, I thought they just locked in.
Yeah, I heard the lock-in noise as well. I was like, really? Kassadin straight away? But yeah, still a lot of options for these two teams. The question is, are we going to see that mixed draft in the first phase that we saw in the last game? Are we going to have different roles open for the teams coming into that second phase?
The safer thing, whoa, okay, they take the likely going to be JWoww's Jace here. I know that Larsen has played a bit, but you tend to see Jace move to the top lane these days. Which does mean you can start getting jungle bans coming up for PSG. And if you're a PSG side, you probably say, let's put Dan off Nunu, for instance, because it's been something that he's defaulted to quite heavily. So you say, get rid of Nunu for Dan, make him a little bit less impactful, because they've already lost Elise, you've already lost Zac. I think jungle bans could be the way to go here for PSG.
It makes a lot of sense. And it's, again, Nunu not only good with Kaelin, he's good with Jace as well. If Jace wants to kind of come and help, he's not going to be split pushing 24/7. I mean, JWoww did a good job of entering team fights when he needed to, and having that on the Ashe is going to be pretty big. There's the Nunu ban. I can't imagine we weren't going to see it. But now, what else do you ban out here if you're PSG? Do you target the mid lane here?
I think Shen is still a ban against Sartorius. The Rumble as well does work well. When you have these compositions that want to group up and take towers early on, which is what PSG have been trying to do.
They're just making sure that Jace doesn't have bad matchups, because Rumble is a pretty bad matchup.
Gnar is still on the cards. Sartorius isn't a well-known Gnar player. He's not like Wonder from Spice, but he's still a very good all-around top laner. So the Gnar is an option. Now, Sejuani, like, people raise their eyes at this ban, although it's now been seen a lot in EU and NALCS. Before this week, you would have said, why are you banning Sejuani? And then you saw it a few times. It's like, okay, incredibly tanky, works well with Gargoyle's Stoneplate, a huge amount of armor, basically unkillable, is incredibly powerful when used correctly.
This has been something that Dan pulled out previously, and we saw how powerful it was in those siege scenarios, the ability to just force people away from turrets because they don't want to get locked up by the lane-wide ultimate from Maokai. Dan has played this before, and you're right, Medic, they are going for the last pick counter for Larsen. I think that is something that is very important to War, because they have shown that Larsen has been one of the standout performers in terms of the laning phase of War, and that has been something that it was so crucial to PSG's success last time. And what I really like what Wyndham Rain have done here is they've kind of made sure that they don't have too many lane-dominant matchups in PSG's favor.
So it could be the Gragas top here with this Kha'Zix hover from PSG. There's still that flexibility within their roster for the time being. Could still, of course, take that Gragas into the jungle, something we've seen Kairi do a few times.
J4's not banned here. I mean, J4 with... All right, okay, Kha'Zix it is, and I guess Gragas up in the top lane. I was going to say, J4's still available, and even just locking someone in with someone like a Talia on your team, good luck getting out of that. Like, there's no absolute way you're going to be able to move if Talia and J4 are on top of your face. But taking this Kha'Zix into the jungle, something that Dan's played very early on with not much success. I'm wanting to see Kirei come through with it because he has played Rengar as well, another very early game aggressive jungler. I want to see what he's going to do. They actually do end up locking in the Castin as their last pick for Wind and Rain, so teasing it a little bit earlier and having that one in their pocket for this 1-3-1 split push composition coming out from Wind and Rain with a lot of siege potential as well. There's so many facets to their composition that I actually really enjoy.
This is, like you said, likely going to move into the scenario where you have Jace in a side lane, Castin in a side lane, and they join fights where necessary. Like Jaws alluded to, Siege is good, because you've got double AD. Double AD is always going to be good with Siege, but the potential to force people off turrets, and if they stick around with the potential for them to be blown up is huge from Wind and Rain, because if you just throw down the Maokai Nature's Grasp and it just starts to roll out, and then just... Have I just got the skill name wrong again, or are you laughing at me?
No, it's Nature's Grasp.
Because last week I got it wrong. I called it Root Call all the time with
Yeah,
Ivan, and you were laughing at me. But yeah, you throw out the Nature's Grasp, and then the ability to capitalize on that is so good because you've got so much dive off the Ash Arrow. Nature's Grasp comes out, Ash Arrow comes out, Castin gets in and slam dunks you. I mean, there's so many ways to punish people staying around in Nature's Grasp here for Wind and Rain. But again, you have the Kha'Zix and the Maokai matchup here. It might be difficult Maokai in the jungling phase because Kha'Zix will look to try and duel him. Maokai not known as one of the best duelists in the game, especially early games. So I
was actually thinking of the Maokai skin when I laughed. I was like,
oh, yeah.
Oh, there's little cats coming out.
Can you avoid isolation if you put down saplings? Because technically it's a teammate, isn't it? So you could...
Is it coded as a minion?
Probably. Everything's coded as a minion. You could sapling, Twisted Advance, and then by the time you finish the Twisted Advance, you've got your Courage of the Colossus proc, so you've got a huge amount of health there. You've got the Sap Magic passive as well, so you get health back.
True counter.
And you can't taste your fear damage. It's not isolation. So
I wonder. I don't know if I've never seen that interaction. I just haven't seen it.
Hopefully we will at some point in this game. Quick predictions for this game, guys.
I want to go War to stick with my original one.
Okay, well you've gone for War. Let's go, Excalibur.
I actually want to go for War again.
Okay.
I think it was a blip last game. I definitely think they showed prowess, and I think there's going to be a War game.
Both of you thinking War. Let's get onto the Summoners with Paris Saint-Germain taking on War. Take it away.
He's avoiding it. Medic's avoiding his own prediction. He's run off. He's just run.
Doesn't want to be wrong, but he already is. And he is wearing the Maokai skin. Thank goodness for that. And one small interaction as well with Dan's ultimate. You could put Sartorius at the front, very tanky, to soak up that one root, and then everybody kind of lines up behind him. And then no one else gets rooted down, so that could be something we might end up seeing. But we're on to game number 2, PSG versus War. PSG finally finding their first win. Going for a small invade, though. Those small kitty cats will find 3 members of PSG, so they're going to have to back off rather sharply.
A lot of damage as well they took there. They just had to back out straight away. Now, PSG actually, we talked about Siege from Wind and Rain. PSG have got fantastic Siege, almost better Siege than Wind and Rain do in a sort of straight-up scenario. When we talk about Siege, we talk about the ability to step up to the turret with a minion wave and get something done, like getting enough damage onto the turret through one minion wave or getting the turret outright. And the things that make a good Siege composition is the ability to have a lot of consistent tower damage, the ability to threaten a dive if at all possible, and the ability to control zones around the tower, which is why people say that Orianna is good in Siege because the ball naturally controls zones. Caitlyn is good in Siege because the traps naturally control zones. You've got Tristana who takes things very easily with the explosive shot. You've got Blanc who can control zones with the Unraveled Earth and the Threaded Volley. And Sartorius who can threaten the tower dive. And Klai who can threaten the pick under tower. So those are the elements of this Siege composition for PSG that are good. So we talked about War having a good Siege composition because of the Nature's Grasp. PSG have got a pretty solid one as well, and if they can make good laning phase and early rotations with Tristana, we could see another early game snowball for PSG.
It was so delectable to watch, in all honesty, but with Blanc as well being such a big roamer once he does hit level 6, almost matching Larson in that respect. Riftwalk versus the Talia wall will be quite interesting to see how effective Blanc is on this Talia pick. More of a safe mid laner like Orianna is. But now Nardius and Klai just receiving a lot of the treatment they gave War last game. in getting pushed in. Blunt with a very early roam here. Level 2 onto JWoww. He's going to use that acceleration gate, but those small pebbles won't quite find the connection, so he's going to be quite safe to just back off.
They're going to start to shove in. That is a tough laning phase now for Woolite. Just being able to put pressure on Cly and Nadius. Cly unable to get huge amounts of pressure onto Woolite because obviously AOD is going to stand there and block those hooks, block any potential catch that Cly can make. Again, it's going to be one of those situations where I don't think Ignite is going to get burnt too early on in the laning phase. JWoww has got his Jace as well. Big flash engage up there.
Big flash engage onto JWoww. That's going to be a flash as well from Cly. JWoww is going to find himself going back to base. Kirei is going to pick up first blood. It's a really big advantage for him. Blowing the flash as well from JWoww is pretty huge. Yeah,
because they can continuously punish him now because, again, Sartorius can just look for body slams, he can look for slows. JWoww is going to be in a very tough position in the laning phase, and Kirei can choose to just step up there time and time again. Now, double flash burn, remember? So that is quite a lot of expenditure for a singular kill onto JWoww, but it has shown that if PSG can get the advantage in that top lane, they do often are able to snowball things from there. But JWoww, I don't think, is in such a bad matchup that he's going to start to fall behind on a 1v1 basis like he did last time. You know, Agragas isn't going to dominate a Jace. But the combination of Kirei and Sartorius could be a real issue for JWoww as this goes on, especially as a Jace without flash is fairly vulnerable.
He hasn't got very many protective abilities to his name. He's got the acceleration gate for a small speeder, but Kirei is going to go for it again, but he is going to get spotted out by Dan, so he's going to know where he is.
Yeah, again, you expect this to happen now. Throughout the laning phase, Kirei has seen a weak spot. He's going to absolutely jab at that weak spot, and JWoww will be put under pressure again and again. And remember, if you can get Kirei snowballing, he is going to be a monster to Larssen and Woolite in the mid game. As Larssen,
oh no, Larssen, no mana, not even level 6, gets jumped on.
Doesn't even need to flash,
so
though.
Punishing. Cly is going to find the hook on AOD, just to relieve that, a bit of that pressure from Nadius.
Larssen knew that he didn't need to flash because he wasn't isolated, so he wasn't going to get blown up there. That was a really nice move by him. Can just teleport back to lane if necessary. Don't even need it. Yeah, he will do it right now.
Gonna have to teleport back. In fact, the Raptors are going to get taken. Oh, another teddy bear. Uh-oh. Blunt takes a little bit of damage, that percent damage, after the small rework of Maokai.
And again, Dan now coming up towards this top lane. Sartorius hasn't got a ward, so Dan is just judging his timing.
A little bit hesitant, but they are going to jump on him. Body slam onto JWoww. There comes the twist in advance. Courage of the Colossus going to give a lot of shielding. No flash on Sartorius. He's just going to get run down now. No defensive countermeasures. Dan just standing next to him. Can they actually execute the kill here? He is going to get under turret. There comes the twisting advance. One more hammer to the skies, but the body slam completely denies the kill. Action down in the bottom side though. Woolite's going to get ignited. They're going to chase up on him. Nadius is going to be very careful. A stun does land. A flash, a heal from Nadius. Does manage to get out nice and alive, but still two big summoners down from the Tristana. Is going to be, again, pretty big when they're facing up against Dan.
And 2 flashes available for Woolite and AOD. If Nadius and Cly are not careful, there could be a flash engage kill for War in that bot lane. They are shoving up, but here comes Kirei. There is flash available for Woolite. He has to be so careful because he could get burst so quickly here.
Kirei just leaps straight in. He wants this kill and he wants it now. Kirei finds his second kill of the game. Cly tries to go for that flash flay, but the stand behind me from AOD will save himself.
And again, the laning phase dictated by Kirei's pressure on the map. And it's something that Dan has always classically struggled with. Whenever he's been put on something that is, you know, supposed to impact the map like a Kha'Zix, we saw War really struggle. When he gets put on the Nunu, he could just sit there, farm, take neutral objectives, he could play for the late game. And when Kirei is put on something that he's able to just pressure the laning phase with, PSG seem to have that advantage. This is looking very good from the get-go for PSG once more. We knew how long it took for them to sort of capitalize last game. It was a 15-minute stonker. We'll have to see if they can be a little bit quicker in gaining their advantage and capitalizing on it this time round.
Well, JWoww is doing a little bit better for himself up in this top lane, even though he did go down. Infernal Drake is going to be the first dragon of the day. Maybe we'll see Triple Inferno. We saw Triple Mountain last time. Maybe War have their sights set on this one. Dan and AOD now making fairly aggressive moves into Kirei's jungle.
They're trying to just, I think, pick out this red buff. They might even then try and go for a gank in the bot lane. I don't know. They would be being very careful about their moves into that red side jungle, allowing AOD to clear that ward before Dan revealed himself. I think Kirei should realize this, though. He's either coming to mid lane or he's going to the red buff of Dan. Looks like he's not. He's just taking the Rift Scuttler is they actually do ping out their red buff. So I think they have an inkling that there's been a red buff trade here. Kirei is just going to ward it up.
Yep, Kirei just looking for that ward. He knows the red buff's up.
Yeah.
There we go. Will he take it? Blanco's got pressure in the mid lane as well. This Talia versus Kassadin, very close. You don't want to engage all in as the Kassadin, as the threaded volley will meet you fairly close up, because to get your full combo, you do need your W available. Blanc is going to find JWoww in this top side. Kirei gets some isolation damage. Blanc going to throw out those pebbles, but that threaded volley isn't going to be needed apparently, because Kirei just swipes it away and finds his third kill. But meanwhile, Dan actually decides we're going to take the first dragon again, and it will be an Infernal.
Yeah, that's a trade of Infernal Drake for PSG.
It's going to go down fairly easily. 300 damage. There you go. The smite away. We'll end up finding it. But that turret being pressured now in this top side. Already at half HP.
It's a very, very solid trade for them to go for a tower for an Infernal Drake. They might not even get the tower, though. And a really, really good response, though, again. Whoa! JWoww a little bit overextended. They are just going to give the turret up regardless here, you feel. I don't even think with Dan moving up, they can defend it. So JWoww, again, proving to be a sore point for the War roster. When he's not on Shen, he doesn't feel like he's quite as safe in these laning phases. And PSG have done a really good job of capitalizing.
There's the first turret again. Once more being taken. I mean, last game, it was the bottom lane for PSG. Now it's the top side. Kirei's just done a fantastic job of suppressing JWoww. Not the main catalyst for this team either. It's more on the shoulders of Dan this time. Larson, not much mana to his name. Flyers to the side. There come the pebbles. Plug is going to chase him up. Has got that Storm. Ooh, that was close. Storm Raiders to speed him up. But a nice flash from Larson. We'll be able to get away.
Good move, though. They did burn the flash. Again, that's a pretty useful tool for Kassadin to have, because you can close a lot of distance by just having straight up flash and rift walk to get onto your target. And again, the lane pressure has resulted in a lot of these turrets going low. First turret goes over to PSG. They are 4-0 up right now. They're getting a lot of work done onto this mid lane tier 1 as well. And War just feel unable to respond in these situations. Dan not able to get into lanes quick enough. He's picked up the mobility boots to do just that, but everything kind of going south here, and the CS gap has opened up once more in the top lane. JWoww 20 odd behind this Sartorius's Gragas. I mean, where was this PSG weeks ago? It was this PSG against Origin. If they picked up the win against Origin, then, you know, they might have been in a fighting chance of getting to playoffs.
They'd have been in a very different spot. Oh. Kirei, the teleport actually is going to come down from Sartorius. They're going to jump on Dan, no tanky items. There comes the giant kiddies. They will root 3 people up with the PSG, but Blank is going to secure the kill regardless. Is going to flash after Dan is going to find the kill. That blue buff stolen away as well. PSG's early game. Finesse. League of Legends.
This is what a snowballed Kha'Zix looks like. That is a 28 CS Maokai with literally just mobility boots to his name. Maybe a Ruby Crystal you can count as well. You have got Mercury Treads and a finished jungle item for Kirei right now. He essentially one-shot that Maokai. And this is why that matchup is so poor for Maokai, because if you let that Kha'Zix snowball and you do not have the impact to get the gold necessary to become tanky quickly, you are a sitting duck for him in 1v1 duels. That was just an absolute monstrosity of a fight between the two of those. Dan just, I mean, it's like Kirei had wood chopping axes locked on his claws. He just went down in an instant.
That would be a kind of an entertaining skin, the Kha'Zix. The Lumberjack Kha'Zix. Does extra damage versus Maokai. PSG once more taking this Rift Herald.
It's an interesting question. You know, Riot used to put in sort of mini features between certain characters. For instance, I think Leona would do 1 less damage against the likes of Zyra and Maokai because of the sunlight being good for the photosynthesis on the plants. I wonder
people with sunglasses as well.
Yeah, I wonder what Riot. I wonder if Riot do that anymore.
Lumberjack Scion does 1 more damage to a Maokai, for example, would be a small interaction. I don't know.
I'm just wondering. I'm just wondering if they do that anymore, because I just thought they were kind of unique and fun.
Well, you know, there's Riot Q&As every now and then, so that could be one of the questions if you pop it on the Reddit.
Watch out, Riot AMA, come in with my questions.
Scoundrels coming. PSG now 5-0 with 12 minutes in. I just can't believe the goal lead every single time. 4 to 5,000. around the 15-minute mark they were last game. Rift Herald being opened up on the mid lane turret as well. That's going to fall no problem. In fact, might even just one-shot it. Yeah, just about takes it out. Harriet doing a fantastic job for PSG once more.
So clean from PSG as well. I mean,
Oh, here comes the ult. Hang on a minute. Woolite has found a target, and that target is going to be Blanc. He isn't going to be able to get out alive. He gets knocked up, rooted. He goes down. War now making the proactive plays. Do manage to take out Blanc. Do sacrifice the turret for it, and a little bit of damage down to that tier 2 in mid.
It was a nice combination there from War, actually. The Ash Arrow into the Nature's Grass so perfectly timed that Blanc could not take the Lantern. But realistically, you know, that's a small price. They did get their first tier turret in the mid lane. They've extended their gold lead to around 5,000 now. Ideally, I think they would have liked to have pushed onto that tier 2 in the mid lane, but at least they now know the kind of potential that the War roster have when they find an engage with that Ash Arrow. The problem with an Ash composition, especially when your front line is behind, like this Maokai who is yet to even finish his jungle item, when your front line is behind, it's very difficult to follow up on an Ash engage because someone needs to take the damage of the counter engage of the enemy team. They need to be there on the front line to sort of be able to soak damage so that your back line can follow up so easily and effectively on the Ash Arrow. It's the problem that we saw War have last... PSG have last game when Sartorius wasn't there to follow up on the Ash Arrow. They found it very difficult to actually win fights. It's the same thing for War here, you know. Yeah, they can make odd picks here and there, but if they want to use the Ash Arrow effectively and pull the trigger whenever they get the opportunity, Dan needs to be in a much better position because JWoww's not going to tank. I mean, he's so far behind as it is, he's barely putting out damage.
And he's a Jace, he doesn't really want to tank, right? I mean, Dan, the Nature's Grasp, yes, it can be an immense immobilizing CC, but it's so slow. Another Ash Arrow does come out, does land actually onto Kirei. Flying the front line though, tanking up so much damage. Kirei's going to find himself another kill with the help of Nardius.
Yeah, that was
that bomb on the Maokai, he goes boom, and that Dragon will be taken by PSG as well. And Ocean Drake being secured for their arsenal.
That was a 2-for-1 Lantern for Cly. He picked up the Maokai using the Twisted Advance. Through the duration, delivered Maokai right to the middle of the team, who was isolated as well. Ooh, nice hook onto Larson here.
Nice hook, yeah. It does have the Rift Walk to get away, but that's going to be a cast used from Sartorius as well. A knock-up comes through from Blanc, and these kills are coming through so thick and fast. PSG just not letting War have a breather.
It looks like PSG learnt their positive lessons from the last game and have capitalized them even further. Tristana meaning that turrets go down so quickly with the explosive shot too. Here comes the Nature's Grasp.
Oh, the hook over the wall onto Woolite. I didn't even see that one until he's dragged across the... Oh my goodness.
This is just destruction from PSG. And honestly, one of the things that I think has been a major issue for me is it is just highlighting how poor Dan has been for War in general. I don't think Dan has been a stand-up performer at all for War throughout any of their games. Some of the games, yes, he has been good on the Maokai, but I always looked at Dan and felt like he was one of the weakest links of the War squad. And a lot of people have thrown shade at Kirei. And admittedly, Kirei has had some very bad performances in the past few weeks, but he has been so good over these last 2 games. It kind of shows you some of the insight into why, you know, PSG have stuck with him as a jungler. It's obvious that he performs quite well when given the opportunity to. It's just getting that performance being consistent is probably the issue here for PSG. But he has been monstrous this game.
Well, this is exactly what happened in game number 1. PSG's early game just, you know, beautiful. But they do fall apart in the mid-game, and can War again capitalize on that? Can they make something work with their composition? Because yes, they've got many facets to it. They've got a split push, a 1-3-1 composition with Larson and JWoww. They've got a lot of engage as well with Woolite and Dan, but can they make that engage possible?
I think there's 2 things to look at this now, Jaws. PSG are a lot further ahead at this point in the game than they were last game, and a 1-3-1 composition when you're behind sucks. So, I mean, this is just going to accentuate how far PSG are ahead, and they are trying to make the engages. They're not finding success with them. But you will see this 1-3-1, it's not going to function. I don't think they'll ever get to a point in this game where 1-3-1 becomes an even a credible form of tactic for them, because they can't afford to split their composition up.
Teleport coming in from Sartorius. Dan has found his way onto the back line. Oh, Blanc using that ghost to get away. Kirei's going to be here as well. It's going to be a flash from Larson to get over the wall. Didn't have enough cooldown for the Rift Walk. Sartorius meeting War in the middle, splitting up their composition, just leaves Nardius a lot of time to take that tier 2 turret in the top lane. Once more, we are 17 minutes into the game, 5 turrets are down for War. They haven't even secured themselves one, and PSG setting themselves up for mid-game success.
This could be a game that's over in the next 10 minutes easily. I think you have to look at the fact that PSG, we talked about at the start of the game, their composition is designed to take turrets and take them effectively. So they can do it so quickly with the Tristana because they create space for Tristana, you have great siege because of Blanc, Sartorius can threaten tower dives. And with a 1-3-1, you want to be at least even, especially in your solo lanes in the mid-game, so that you can enact your strategy. The problem for War now is they have to group to defend turrets because they can't actually split push. And they need to defend as a 5, but their composition is not designed to defend as a 5. That's not what it's built to do. And so they're just going to be in a weak position for their composition whilst being in a weak position globally. So it's going to be tenfold worse for them this game. And I think this is a game that I would be very surprised if PSG could throw this game. I mean, look, I have been surprised by PSG before, and I can see Medic laughing next to me, but I would be very surprised if PSG could throw it. It would take a thesis on the art of throwing to throw this game for PSG. Hold my drink while I get this wrong, but
a thesis on the art of throwing. Is that written by yours truly?
I have a caster in another game that I cast called Humanist, and he wrote a joke thesis on the art of throwing in the game that we cover. It would take a literal book of throwing for PSG to throw this.
Maybe they'll just throw the book out the window. Another Weaver's Wall will actually separate Dan this time. Uh-oh, that's on the wrong side. Nature's Grass is going to get rolled out here. Hook goes a little bit wide, but Larson over the wall is going to help secure the kills on the minions, which is exactly what they need. Now this is the time PSG is seeming to come online. It's a real good showing, and you can imagine Yellow Star sitting there going, this is the PSG we wanted to see, and they're just now finding their groove. But
it's a bit late, right?
It is late, yeah. But still, I mean, thinking about it in the longer term, it's good for PSG as an overall, I think, team. And finding this team that, again, looking at the lineups going, oh yeah, it's fairly stacked. I mean, Blanc is a fantastic mid laner. Nardius and Cly, I think Cly, a newer addition to the team, has really found his home on PSG. I think it's a fantastic showing from them. That Baron is up in a couple of seconds.
And I think that's what PSG are now going to start to set up for, because they know that they can bring a very weak War at least in range of them by setting up for vision around this Baron. I was wondering why they backed off around that bot lane tier 2 when the Maokai Nature's Grass came out, because I didn't think they were that unhealthy. I thought they could brush it off and run with the next minion wave for a siege. But it makes sense because Baron was up in 30 seconds. They knew that they need to get control of that side of the map, because this is going to be a major area for them to work with to get to a point where they can bring War to them to just capitalize on the fact that they are so far ahead. And remember, Baron is one of the best ways to force a team fight when you are ahead and can't quite force a team fight with an engage.
Let's have a look at PSG's items then. They are very far ahead, but Kira, he's the main catalyst right now. He's 5-0-2. He's got the Black Cleaver. Sartorius wants to find a kill onto JWoww. Does end up forcing the flash without a flash of his own.
Righteous Glory as well, being picked up as Sartorius. Great way to force these.
And Knight's Vow as well.
And what a way, they force him back off the turret, and suddenly the Ash Arrow comes out. It does land.
Does land. That's a very long stun. There comes AOD with a flash knockout for the Glacial Fisher. Nature's Grass is going to do all too much, but Nardius is already out of the fight. Now look at the front line. Sartorius is going to get taken out by Dan. But look at the free hitting damage of Woolite. Does blow 2 summoners. Nardius now back into this engagement. JWoww looks like he wants to go hammers to the skies. Takes the kill. Takes Nardius off the face of the rift. Clyde just managing to escape with an inch of his life. Blanc is going to throw out the Q, but isn't going to be able to find any damage on JWoww. They do lose 2 members, but they trade it at least for 1 there on Dan.
PSG have just dipped their ink in the quill in the ink and have started to write the first page. I might be eating my own words soon enough. You've got to respect the fact that there is still that massive engage potential. Oh, JWoww's doing some work.
JWoww is here. Hang on a second. He wants to try and find something. Okay, Kira just jumps on him. Isolation damage will be enough to finish off the kill. They also take the Infernal Drake again. Sartorius is going to TP in, but I don't know, it might be a little bit too late. Kira flashing forward, manages to pick up 1 kill, flashes straight back, well, jumps straight back in, fights the 2-piece, and they're getting taken out by Larson. Blanc on the sideline. Sartorius did come in with a teleport, did use that Righteous Glory, but Larson trying to find another kill. Does have double buffs, but Dan is going to be here as well. Sartorius a little bit too tanky for Larson to take out just yet. All right, Kira finds himself another 2. Makes
Larson's
9.
2-0-2 right now. That is one thing that I would be looking at on the side of Wind and Rain and saying that guy's pretty scary. For Nadia specifically, and for Blanc, that is a Lichbane Karthus now finished up and ready to go, so that can blow someone up. Sorry, Kassadin. I don't know why I said Karthus.
Lichbane Karthus. That's the build.
Yeah, that would have been interesting. I don't know why I said Karthus. Lichbane Kassadin now ready up and rolled to go here. And that is a threat to Blanc, and that is a threat to Nadius, because they have not itemized defensively because they were so far ahead. You do need to respect, and I think it's 2 times now that PSG have kind of disrespected the engage and pick potential of War.
Now just clearing out the vision. War, they made the Barons work last time, but they had that Nunu. It's so hard to smite away from a Nunu because he can consume smite same time. It's a lot of upfront burst, a lot of upfront true damage burst on the side of War, but they don't have that this time. They've got Dan, who on this Maokai hasn't been so impactful like you alluded to earlier, hasn't been a true standout performer by War. But if he can secure these Barons, that was their way. Their inch back into the game last time. The hook does land onto AOD. He's going to put up that shield, though.
Not going to follow up on it. They're looking like they're heading up towards JWoww. There is no vision here. Kirei could pick up an easy kill onto this Jace, who is pretty squishy at this point in time. Remember, Sartorius can finally engage with the Righteous Glory, which he's going to do.
Oh, he's going to do. He does get batted away, but here comes Kirei. He's got a lot of damage, and now JWoww is on the wrong side of the lane. They're just going to run him down, cut him up. And JWoww ends up falling again. A nice hook again on AOD, trying to clear out that vision, but Clyde just denying it.
They're trying to push for Baron, but I don't think they have the advantage to do so. Sartorius is now shoving this mid lane. They're going to have to respond to Sartorius. That is going to be Kassadin Larson that makes his way down towards the spot lane tier 2, and suddenly now PSG... Have they caught Dan out here? Dan's got flash, but I mean, he's probably...
They might have done that. Weaver's Wall is just going to block him off, and
what was Dan doing there?
Trapped in the pit. Will just get slaughtered, and Blanc picks up the kill, and that's going to be a Baron getting started up here for PSG.
And then he's going to be going down very quickly, because remember, you've got a Tristana now, you've got Kirei, 10, 1, and 2 on that chap as well. I mean, that's...
Oh, that was close.
I just clenched really hard.
Woolite tries to get the volley over, but it's not going to be enough. Kirei does...
Oh, that was so close. What a great smite, though, from Kirei to secure it. That was a really good prediction from Woolite, though. Nice timed, but yeah, 10, 1, and 2 on this Kha'Zix has been... It felt like it's almost like a solo queue Kha'Zix performance here. And it's really, really illustrated the differences between the two junglers. Kirei has been across the map, making plays, picking people out, dominating from left, right, and center. This is a different Kirei that we have seen before. And Dan has kind of been struggling. I mean, look, he's sitting on... Is that an Abyssal Mask?
Just an Abyssal Mask.
Yeah.
And the Cinder Hulk.
It's not a lot of items when you look compared to the side of Kirei, who's sitting on his Ghostblade, Black Cleaver, Mercury Treads.
And the Warriors in chat.
And the Warriors.
Too much damage.
We're 25 minutes in. Because against hard CC, Kha'Zix does kind of suck. So, you know, you've got Braum, you've got Ashe, you've got the lockdown of Larson. Sorry, lockdown of Dan. That is a lot of hard Cs for Kha'Zix to contend with, so you do always have to be careful of Kirei. Don't take anything for granted, you can still die.
You can still die. That's exactly it. If you can find at least a couple of kills, it could spell the way for you to get back in the game.
Great hook on
Fly, yeah, it does get a nice hook onto JWoww. Does pop the Ghostblade, though, to get away. Kirei didn't want to overextend too much. They're just happy taking these turrets, using that Baron buff to his full advantage, and now pushing down this bottom lane. They are squeezing and choking War out now.
And you're drawing a team with very little definable wave clear. Here comes the Nature's Grasp again.
But it's so slow! Isn't going to find anybody whatsoever. Kirei just walks out, and Nadius just takes the lantern away.
It's
One
like,
big engage tool from Dan.
I'm coming to get you!
Yeah.
And then they're like, oh, he's about a mile away now.
No. We'll just walk away. Now Blanc even just in the mid lane, split pushing, kind of, in the mid. The only one real wave clear tool that they do have is JWoww using that Shock Blast, but that Weaver's Wall a little bit short. Doesn't matter though. AOD does get the knockup with a Glacial Fissure. They will end up securing that turret. Inhibitor is going to get started up here, where they want to look for anything else. Hook almost does down to Woolite. Fancy Feet though does step away. Larson, he's trying to get it in. He's trying to find his way onto the back line, just can't find it. That'll be War just giving up that inhibitor.
When, like I said, Larson has been more on the stand-up performance for War. Every time we've seen him play, he's very safe. He farms consistently and he always has an impact in the game. And you can see at 2-0-2, it's one of the, well, it's one of the only positive scores in the game for War. And he did that last game as well. One thing you can say about Larson is maybe sometimes too safe. We can take case in point with that Corky play in the previous game, but very consistent performer for War. And he has been I mean, if he doesn't get picked up by somebody in the future, I would be very surprised, because this guy has been a real star for this team.
He's looking around going, team, I've not died yet. Team, what's going on? Come on. I'm a late game caster and I want to get rolling. He's even got 6 stacks of the Dark Seal. Like, he wants to carry.
They're going in for the engage of Sartorius here.
Sartorius is so scary looking. Nature's Grasp on the sideline again. Arrow is going to land. That's going to land straight onto Clyde, but it's not going to matter, in fact, because Dan just gets annihilated by Kirei. And now War losing a member, have to back off. Woolite has not got the protection he needs. In fact, having to flash and heal away. PSG, they're going to secure their next inhibitor, and a much cleaner mid-game from them.
Yeah, 2 inhibitors down at 28 minutes. So well capitalized off that laning phase that they were dominant in. You're 11, 1, and 2, Kirei, now at sort of 80%, 90% kill participation for this chap. They've got another Drake to take. Baron will be up in a moderately short amount of time. They have 1 lane left to push with a great siege composition against the composition that is designed to split across 3 lanes that has little to no wave clear under a turret. This is looking really good for PSG. Really, really good. This has been so good from them across the board. A couple of mistakes where they get caught out and disrespect the combination of the Ashe and the Maokai Nature's Grasp into the single target damage of Larson, but for the most part, this has been a clean game from PSG. Something that we wish we had seen from them earlier in the Challenger Series, because it's a team that we know can achieve this kind of level of gameplay, but...
Finally finding their footing. And like I said, it's very important to kind of find that, but, you know, yes, it may be a little bit too late.
It's not even maybe a little bit, it is just too late.
It is a little bit too late. Just look at the gold, though. The gold graph is just steadily climbing for them. 15 minutes, they were 5K ahead. Only a few minutes ago, they were 10,000. And now they're sitting at a 12 to 13,000 gold lead at the coming up to the 13-minute mark.
And that tangibly translates into at least 4 major item spikes above their opponent. If you take an average of about 3,000 gold for a tier 3 item, you know, you are tangibly 4 major item spikes ahead of your opponent at this point in time, and that just is dominant in teamfight situations. Nature's Grasp comes out.
Oh, Arrow just got a little bit wide. Now PSG, they make the decision. Are they going to stay or are they going to go? They end up going. Dan's going to look for this engage, though, but he's so weak, has to flash out already. The bomb's just going to destroy him. Nardius finds the kill eventually.
Goodbye.
Oh, my goodness. It's just destruction. Larson has to riff walk away. Sartorius flashing underneath the turret. He's going to throw out his little jiggy as well. JWoww ends up falling. PSG, they're going to look to end the game here, and they finally find 1 win. Not only do they find 1, they find 2, they find the series, and War crumble under PSG's might.
And that is a very odd phrase to say, given what we have seen from PSG during the Challenger Series, but goodness me, they have surprised. And I tell you what,